On today's show, Donovan Mitchell's buzzer beater sends the Cavs to 7-0. This was the most impressive win the Cavs have to date. I'll tell you why on today's Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name's Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my new Substack, The Inside Shot, 92.3 The Fan, Cleveland Magazine, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating, leave us a nice review, be a friend, tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Make sure you're subscribed, make sure they're subscribed. Also, check us out on YouTube. Just search Locked On Cavs on YouTube. If you're watching this video right now, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content that's coming your way, like a surprise episode like this one, popping up on a Sunday morning. If you got that notification bell on, you know exactly when this is going live. A proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show, of course, is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Also, Locked On Cavs now has a newsletter introducing the Locked On Cavs daily newsletter, one stop for the ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with all new free Locked On Cavs newsletter. So the Cleveland Cavaliers are now 7-0. They've got the best record in the NBA. Donovan Mitchell hit a buzzer beater to lift them over the Milwaukee Bucks. This was what Mitchell said in the locker room on TV after the game. Was the first time he's hit a game winner like this one in his career. This was to me the most impressive win the Cavs have this year. They've won all 7 games they've played. They've won in blowout fashion in a number of them, right? Like their first 3 wins were all blowouts. That Knicks game was a come-from-behind win. The Lakers game was a blowout. And Orlando was, I think a little bit disappointing that it wasn't a closer game. The Cavs won in a blowout, but the fact that Paolo Banchero wasn't there, just because I think we're kind of waiting to see the Cavs be tested in a way that they were Saturday night. And that's part of the thing that made Saturday's game against the Bucks so good, is that this was a real test for the Cavs in a way we haven't seen. And Milwaukee is going to be a better basketball team than what their record is right now. And that's part of the reason why I'm so impressed with what the Cavs did on Saturday night in Milwaukee, because there are some things. One, this was a game that was a scheduled loss. Like, this was the 3rd game in 4 nights for the Cavs. It was the 2nd night of a back-to-back. The Bucks did not play last night. The Cavs played in Cleveland Friday night and had to travel to Milwaukee, got in very early Saturday morning, and then had to play a team who has looked very poor as of late. But I thought Milwaukee really came out with a sense of desperation. And I don't think desperation is something that you can fake. Like, the Cavs went into this game 6-0. If they had a game where they weren't at their best in the situation I just described, would anyone really blame them? I don't think so. You could just kind of chalk it up to, okay, this team's now played 7 basketball games in 11 days. They had won the first 6 of them. It was the 2nd night of a back-to-back. They had to travel. They didn't play their best. Who cares? It's a very easy game to flush down the toilet and say, you know what? Go get them on Monday. Not a big deal, right? But the Cavs didn't take that approach. And that, to me, is a very impressive thing, because Milwaukee, they came out desperate. They hit 7 threes in the first quarter, maybe 8 threes in the first quarter, for a team that entered the night 28th in three-point shooting percentage, had an outlier shooting game where they shot 47% from 3. So the Cavs winning that game is impressive right there, because Milwaukee, who they're a better team than what their record is. They will get it figured out at some point. I'm not buying the Bucks as a championship contender, but the Bucks will figure it out. They're not going to miss the playoffs. Like, they're too talented for that. They will figure it out to that extent. But I thought the Bucks came out on Saturday night with something to prove. Their statement early was, we need to right this ship, and we're going to do it tonight. We're going to make a statement against a really good team. The Cavs took that first punch where they were down 16 in the first quarter. They cut it to 8, and then they were only down by 1 at halftime. That was really impressive. That second quarter, to me, was the Cavs took a punch from Milwaukee and punched right back. And then they kept going. And that was a very, very impressive statement by the Cavs because, like I said, this would have been a game that it would have been really early, especially when they're down 16 and everything's going right for Milwaukee. They're hitting all kinds of shots. Damian Lillard hit 5 threes in the first quarter. It's really easy to say, you know what? Tonight's just not going to be our night. And there's 82 of these, and some of these are just not going to be our night. And I don't think anyone would have had a real issue with that considering the start that this team has gotten off to. But they chose to go the other way. And that is one of the reasons why I'm getting the feeling that this team is special. I don't know that they're championship contenders, but I don't know that they're not either. And with what we've seen and how we have seen this team play night in and night out through what has been outside of the first 3 games, the last 4 have been tough opponents. The first 3 were not, but the last 4 have been. They've shown up every night. They've not had their best every night, and you're not going to have your best every night, but they figured out a way to get it done every night. What Donovan Mitchell did down the stretch where he missed a few shots, and he talked about it when he was on court with Serena Winters after the game, that he was due to make one of those. And, he did after nearly turning the ball over twice, actually, composed himself and found a way to get it done. And there was a lot that didn't go right in this game, but the Cavs found a way to overcome all of it. They did. And that, to me, is one of the most impressive things that we've seen, probably the most impressive thing we've seen from this team. Because for them to win a game in which Milwaukee shoots way above their heads, where they shoot 47% from 3, Damian Lillard hit 10 threes in this game. To win that game, like so often when that happens, when the other team's superstar just goes off, has a great night the way Lillard did, you're not going to win that game 9 out of 10 times. This was the one time the Cavs found a way to do it. And they found a way to do it because their superstar stepped up when it mattered the most at the end, right after Damian Lillard hit a shot to put the Bucks ahead with 9.8 seconds left. But Damian Lillard hit that shot, and then Donovan Mitchell came down and did exactly what superstars do. They answer. There's no question that guy is a superstar. No question at all. None. There was a lot to like from this game. There was a lot that I think you can say, okay, this looked like a game that was the 3rd and 4 nights for the Cavs. That was the second night of a back-to-back. But even then, I thought the Cavs played with an intensity that looked like they belong in the conference finals. That looked like this was a second-round playoff game. Like, there were moments in this game on Saturday night that I don't know were that may have been more intense than certain moments in the series the Cavs played against Orlando last year. Not the entirety of it, but parts of it. Like, you could tell in watching this game, the Milwaukee Bucks really wanted that one. They really wanted to find a way to win. Like, Giannis, I thought, was very motivated. Damian Lillard was obviously awesome for Milwaukee. The Cavs were just better. And I think one of the brightest spots about that for the Cavs, if you're a Cavs fan, is the Bucks really wanted that game. They did a lot to win that game. And the Bucks have not figured it out, and they will be better than they are right now. But the Bucks really wanted that game. The Cavs didn't have their best stuff. And the Cavs were still the better team. I think that says a lot about where this team is right now and where this team is going. It is really hard for me to sit here through the first 7 games of the season, seeing what we have seen from this team so far, and say anything other than this team's going to be special. I don't know what the end of the year is going to look like, but I also think you're foolish if you want to fast forward and get there. I think that this regular season is going to be one of the most fun regular seasons in the history of this franchise. It's off to a 7-0 start because tonight Donovan Mitchell stepped up and hit a buzzer beater. That's awesome. On the second night of a back-to-back, after he only played 22 minutes because of foul trouble against Orlando. That's what superstars do. And I thought Evan Mobley too, down the stretch, I thought it was really telling. With a minute left in the game and the Cavs up by 2, Kenny Atkinson put the ball in Evan Mobley's hands on offense. Threw him an inbound pass and he attacked. Like, that is awesome. This Cavs team is going to get so much better than it is, and it's already really good. I can't say enough good things about what Kenny Atkinson has done to change this team, how much better he's made this team. but I'm going to attempt to talk about that next on Cavs. Today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. November is a month where we like to give thanks. We like to, thank people in our lives that are special. Like, I like to thank my fiance, Brittany. I don't know where I'd be without her. Very special person to me. And I'm sure you have someone in your life that you think is very special, perhaps multiple people. And with this month being all about gratitude, and, I just shouted out somebody, there's another person that we don't necessarily always take enough time to thank enough, and that's ourselves. Because sometimes it's hard to remind ourselves that we're trying our best, I know I am, to make sense of everything, and that's not exactly easy in the world we live in, right? But here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people in your life, including yourself. And one way to start thanking yourself might be by starting therapy. And if you are thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. I think that's very important because, just talking about your life being very busy, you can forget time to think about yourself. Having an outlet like BetterHelp be suited to your schedule, very important, very convenient, very flexible. So just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA, LOCKEDONNBA, and you can get 10% off your first month. Again, head on over to BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure they're subscribed as well. This is going to be an absolutely special Cavs season. I want you to have Cavs content every day. I want your friends to have Cavs content every single day. Also available on YouTube. Just search Locked On Cavs on YouTube. If you're watching this video, hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. So Kenny Atkinson, I think, deserves a lot of credit, not only for the win on Saturday night, but he deserves a lot of credit for this 7-0 start. And one of the things that he did on Saturday night that I really loved, and we're still learning about Kenny as a coach because, one, I do think he's evolved quite a bit from the version of himself that he was when he was the Brooklyn Nets head coach. And two, because the Cavs have been so good, this was really our first, I mean, maybe you can count the Knicks, but this was our first true end of game situation. I suppose the Knicks counts, but with this one being even closer, I thought this was a really good test to see, one, how Kenny was going to handle end of game situations, two, how flexible he is with lineups. And that's the thing that stood out to me. There were some changes that Kenny made in the second half of this game that I thought were really important. So the Cavs opened up the game with the starting five they've used in all 7 games. And as part of that, Dean Wade was defending Damian Lillard in the first half. And Damian Lillard was awesome early on. He hit 5 threes in the first quarter. The Cavs really didn't have an answer for him. And listen, he's a star player who has not necessarily gotten off to the best start of the season. And I think he was due to have a game like this. And the Cavs were just the team on the schedule it was going to happen against. But Dean Wade wasn't necessarily super effective on Damian Lillard. Again, I don't know if that's Dean Wade's fault so much as it's Damian Lillard was just due to have a Damian Lillard type night. When the Cavs came out of the locker room after halftime, Dean Wade was no longer defending Damian Lillard. It was Darius Garland. And I don't know if Darius Garland asked for that assignment. I don't know if Kenny Atkinson just said, hey, we're going to do this. But having the flexibility to do that, having the trust in someone like Darius Garland to go out and give his best shot at defending Damian Lillard, I think that says a lot about who Kenny Atkinson is as a coach. And one of the other things that stood out to me about what Atkinson did in this game, aside from giving the ball to Evan Mobley with a very critical possession down the stretch of this game, was sticking with Isaac Okoro in the final 5 minutes of this game, because normally you would see, for the most part, you see starters go back out when it's crunch time, and not all coaches are tethered to playing starters when it matters the most. But Isaac Okoro was awesome tonight. He was fantastic. I thought defensively, I thought he was great on the boards. He finished with 8 rebounds. He hit 3 threes. Like, Isaac Okoro was tremendous in this game. I thought he deserved to be on the floor when the game was being decided late in the fourth quarter. And it's not always easy to have someone off of your bench, especially if it's not like, I think it's a little bit easier with Karis LeVert because of the offensive punch that he can provide when he's really going well. But I thought playing Isaac at the 3 was the right move. And that is exactly what Kenny Atkinson did. He had Isaac Okoro in instead of Dean Wade down the stretch. And I thought that's a reason why. And I can't say Dean Wade would not have made the same plays Isaac Okoro made. I have no way of knowing that. But I thought Isaac Okoro was a big reason why the Cavs won that game. Like, he was on the floor for 28 minutes. The Cavs outscored Milwaukee by 12 points with him on the court. He's the only player on the Cavs that had a double-digit plus-minus in the positive. He was awesome tonight. He was absolutely fantastic. And Kenny Atkinson sticking with him, I think, says a lot, or shows us a lot, or I guess we're learning a lot. That's probably the best way to say this. That's something we're learning, that he's going to be willing to do that when it makes sense. Now, it's not going to be Isaac Okoro every night, and I will have bigger questions about when it comes time when there's a matchup when maybe both bigs aren't working, if he's willing to close a game with only Evan Mobley on the floor. And I say only Evan Mobley because the lineups with Mobley as the only big have been better than the lineups with Jarrett Allen as the only big so far this year. But I wonder, is he going to be willing to do that? But I think that this is at least a context clue that he will be. The other thing that I think Kenny deserves a lot of credit for is this team has been extremely prepared. And the schedule the Cavs had out the gate was not an easy one. Yeah, we can look at the first 3 games and say, okay, yeah, well, those were against bad teams, and you'd be right, and that's fair. But they've also played 7 games in 11 nights to open the season. That's not easy. There's not a team in the NBA, I don't believe. I can pull up the standings real quick, but I don't believe there's a team in the NBA that has played more games than the Cavs have. Through 11 nights, they've played 7 games. Yeah, no team has played more than 7 games, and there's really only that I can see. The only team that has also played 7 games is Boston, and they're 6-1. So Kenny Atkinson has done a great job having this team prepared, because, you know, that game against New York in New York is a tough ask. Was not the second night of a back-to-back, but it was the 3rd game in 4 nights. They were ready to go for that. Now, they didn't get off to the best start, but they found a way to win. Tonight, 2nd game of a back-to-back, 3rd game in 4 nights, on the road, having to travel after playing the night before. Again, got off to a slow start, but found a way to win. Even that Lakers game, where LeBron James is going to bring a different type of atmosphere into the arena. And maybe Kenny didn't necessarily realize that because he's not experienced a LeBron James as a visitor game in Cleveland, because why would he have in his coaching career? But I thought they were ready to go for that, obviously, as they won in a blowout. The Cavs have been ready to go every single night. They've had a great plan every single night. I think Kenny Atkinson deserves a ton of credit. And I'm trying to give Kenny Atkinson credit for all these things. And I've not even mentioned what Evan Mobley's done, because I thought Mobley, again, was really good tonight. One of the things we saw from him, and I would like for him to maybe have a little bit more, like he only took 1 3 tonight. I think there were a couple of more instances where he should have taken shots. He only took 13 shots. I think that number probably should have been around 18. But he also had 5 assists. Like, we are seeing him be so much more of a playmaker. I think Kenny Atkinson deserves a lot of credit for that. I thought that was on display. And maybe it's because the Bucks are one of the few teams that can play bigger than the Cavs in their front court with Brook Lopez and Giannis Antetokounmpo. So maybe that goes into it. But Kenny Atkinson has gotten the most out of this team. And I think the scary part for other teams in the NBA here is while Kenny Atkinson has gotten the most out of this team so far, I think there's still so far to go. Like, I don't think that we're seeing this team. We're not going to see this team play its best basketball in November. If we do, something is seriously wrong. But this is not going to be their best basketball. It might be their longest winning streak or their best stretch of games. But I expect them to play better basketball when they get a better feel for the offense as the season rolls along. But still, I couldn't be more impressed with what we've seen so far from Kenny Atkinson. It's been really good to see. And I think the Cavs are I think this team is going to be special. Player of the game. I think you know where I'm going to go. Play of the night. I think you know where I'm going to go. Those are next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL and NBA action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can get $5, who bet $5, can get $150 in bonus bets if you win. So that first $5 bet, if it wins, $150 in bonus bets back. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and NBA all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, like, hey, maybe you thought during Cavs Bucks on Saturday night, you know what? I think the Cavs are going to win this game. When they're down 16, you probably could have gotten some pretty good odds there. So head on over to the FanDuel Sportsbook, because while you're doing that, you can also get the latest stats, live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I talked a lot before the season started about the Cavs win total being set at 48.5 and how much I loved the over. Well, if you took the over at my if you liked it as much as I did, we should say, you're in a pretty good spot, because last I checked, and it's not updated right now as I record this because there are games going on, but I will look at this on Sunday morning. FanDuel had already boosted that total up to 52.5. So FanDuel is already higher on the Cavs than they were prior to the season. So I hope you got it at 48.5. So head on over to FanDuel.com today, because you can get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, FanDuel.com today. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. As I said, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Make sure you're subscribed. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Also available on YouTube. If you're watching this video right now, hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Player of the night for the Cavs. I think there's one place to go here. When you hit a game winner, you get player of the night. Donovan Mitchell, I don't think it was the best game he's ever had. He finished with 30 points, 4 assists, 3 boards. Was 11 of 25 from the field, so not the most efficient night. Was 50% from 3 on 4 of 8. But the fact that he hit that buzzer beater, I guess not technically a buzzer beater. It went down with 0.3 of a second remaining on the clock. But that's going to be enough to earn player of the night. Jarrett Allen, I didn't think had a great night. Still finished with 15 and 12. Evan Mobley, as I mentioned, had 14, 7, and 5. Darius Garland had a double-double, 11 points, 10 assists. And the big number there with Garland for me is that he had no turnovers. And that is something that absolutely, when Darius Garland is not playing his best basketball, I think he gets a little loose and maybe a little careless with the ball. I thought, obviously, took care of the basketball on Saturday night against the Bucks. Isaac Okoro, Sam Merrill also deserve a shout out. Sam Merrill hit 5 threes off the bench, had 17 points. He was actually the Cavs' second leading scorer. Sam Merrill being part of the rotation, which I didn't necessarily always understand previously why he wasn't. He's been awesome for the Cavs this year. And Kenny Atkinson finding the best ways to use him, I think, has been something maybe I haven't talked about enough, but I think that's something that has really helped out the Cavs become one of the best teams in the NBA. Play of the night. Well, I think you know where this is going to go. It's Donovan Mitchell's game-winning shot that he hits from the right elbow, loses control of the basketball briefly, gets it back, and buries a shot to give the Cavs a 7-0 record with 0.3 left on the clock. Again, Donovan Mitchell, just absolutely cold-blooded, breaks the hearts of, I'm sure, many Milwaukee Bucks fans in the stands at Pfizer Forum on Saturday night, just trying to have a great night. Well, Donovan Mitchell had other plans for you. So, again, the Cavs are 7-0, the best record in basketball. They've had the best offense in basketball. I think this is going to be a special team. I see no reason why they're not going to continue along their winning ways. So, I will be back tomorrow with the whip around. We're going to talk more about the Bucks. We're going to talk about the Pelicans. We're going to talk about the Warriors. We're going to talk about the Brooklyn Nets. That's who the Cavs have coming up next week. Plus, I will have a normal episode of Locked On Cavs coming your way tomorrow. We'll dive more into not only what happened against the Bucks on Saturday night, but also the Orlando Magic game that I really didn't talk about on today's episode that happened on Friday night that moved the Cavs to 6-0. But Cavs are the best team in basketball. And I like to think you're listening to the best Cavs podcast in basketball. So you can find the show anywhere you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Thank you for making this your first listen today and every day. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Also, if you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. I'll be back tomorrow with another edition of Locked On Cavs.